What is expected to be a very active month is already beginning snowy into parts of the Northeast, with one of the first nor'easters of the season getting going there. I've got the details on that system, an El Nino dominated December that we're expected to have, and all of the short and long range details you need to know right here in this video, so stick around. Alright, let's start out with what's going on right now with HRRR Future Radar. We've got flood risk up to level 2 into parts of Florida Panhandle as well as southeastern Alabama as we make our way into our Saturday. That comes as a very heavy shield of rain. Will be imminent into our early Saturday morning, packing 1 to 2 inch per hour rainfall rates, and some cells in far northern Louisiana all the way through northern Mississippi and northern Alabama will also be capable of the heavy rain. But right along that I-10 corridor, south and east of I-65 there in Alabama, these zones, that's where we're looking at very heavy rainfall through our Saturday morning. That kind of pushes off the, the Carolina and Georgia coastline into the evening on your Saturday, but then a front develops as a low pressure system connects to the system up further to the north and east. That's going to bring some heavier showers and a line that's really going to impact the entire eastern part of the country here, as you can see, as it makes its way on off towards the northeast. Now let's time that out with the European model, the next few days of radar. You can see again that system beginning to get itself together into our late Saturday afternoon with rainfall only over the southeast at this point. But what you're going to notice is that's going to continue to make its way on off towards the northeast once this little piece of energy in eastern Kansas and Oklahoma as well as Missouri gets its act together, and that is going to be when this system really reaches its maximum potential here as it makes its way into the northeast. You can see the pieces coming together. What's left of the low pressure system from a little bit earlier this week will also play in and give a little bit of energy to boost this system. In our Sunday morning, we'll have that front right along the east coast, but notice the low pressure system bringing the front is going to have to go somewhere, and it's going to make its way through the northeast. And yes, there will be a northern fringe to this that will contain some very heavy rainfall as well as some snowfall. Also notice how active it is back on off towards the Pacific Northwest as well at this point. Let's time this out in particular in the northeast here. You can see heavier showers and storms getting going by our Sunday afternoon into parts of Pennsylvania through into central New York. Starting out as rain for pretty much everybody here, but it's not going to be rain for everybody through the system, especially if you live in parts of New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, as well as on over into Maine. You can see this is going to be a pretty significant nor'easter event as it makes its way into this region. Very heavy snowfall into these areas. We'll see some of the wraparound northeastern flow. Look at that, some of those pinks within the deep blues there into parts of New Hampshire. That's indicating where the snowfall could actually be extremely heavy at times. And notice how that lasts for at least, say 6 to 12 hours over some of these zones. You can see that the area I'm circling really going to be the main focal point for that snowfall with this system as it continues making its way off the coastline by the time we make our way towards our early Monday morning. Still, though, a little bit of wraparound moisture and snowfall into the far northeastern corner of the U.S. on our early Monday. And then also notice a little bit of lake enhanced, maybe just some light rainfall actually coming off the lakes there, Lake Erie and Lake Ontario. Now, I'm at 951 subscribers right now. If you enjoy my content, as I've been saying recently, it's accurate, easy to understand, and passionate forecasting. If you feel that way about it, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like this video if you haven't already. Now, also into the Cascades of Washington and Oregon, we've got some snowfall hitting in these areas, and I mean, this is rainfall as well into the lower elevations, and notice how this is just system after system into next week. I'm playing this out towards Wednesday. Towards Thursday, we're going to continue to see these systems work their way on through. This is going to build up those totals of rain as well as high elevation snowfall over time. So please be aware in these zones that it will be quite dangerous for travel, and there could be some very significant flooding, maybe even some mountain issues as well. You can see some of the totals there in terms of rainfall equivalent could exceed 6 inches there into parts of Washington and Oregon, but that's pretty much it. Far northern California as well as parts of into Idaho, into Montana, some of those zones getting in on it. It's also in the south and the east and the north and the east there where we're going to see some totals exceed an inch. Some spots in the southeast, especially parts of Alabama and Florida during that flood risk zone I mentioned earlier, could pick up about 2 to 4 inches of rain with a few locally higher amounts causing that flooding. And then of course with the snowfall totals that we're going to see out of the system, this is the European model. Notice while it is confined to areas in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, we could see totals through parts of even southern Maine exceed, say, 8 to 12 inches of snowfall, get on up into that foot plus range. I'll have a new update on this tomorrow afternoon to give you the latest details and particularly break down that storm. This is also a December forecast, though, so I got to get through the rest of this information, including the temperature anomaly tracking as we make our way towards the mid part of the month. We'll go all the way there as well. But for now, as we make our way towards our December 5th, you can see warmer than average air building over most of the northwestern half of the country. Going to begin to make its way on off towards the east. Now, I'm using tropical tidbits here. Let me know in the comments if you like this different model graphic from what I normally do, or if you're new to the channel, just let me know how you like the video. But anyway, notice this, this area, it almost looks like a steak. I don't know why I said that, but it does kind of, the shape of this does look like that, and it's going to begin to make its way over parts of the central United States, and it's going to be 10, 15, 20 degrees above average by our December 6th. As we make our way into our December 7th, December 8th, this is going to continue to shift eastward. We see a bullseye for warmer than average air over pretty much the eastern entirety of the country. And one point I want to mention here is the fact that it was very similar to this with warmer than average air over the entirety of the U.S. Back in December of 2015 going into 2016 when we had that last strong El Nino event. So this could be very similar in that regard. And then notice as we make our way towards mid-month, this is now as we're getting into the December 10th, 11th time frame, we begin to see warmer than average air form a little bit of a straight line from south to north over parts of the Arklatex region, and this is the Euro model. Look at the colder air that's going to be meeting it from the west at this point. This could be the signal that something really big could be brewing in the storm department, bringing severe weather and a cold side as we make our way towards, say, again, December 10th, 11th, 12th. So about 10 days out, sure, but if the Euro model's hinting at it early, and I am seeing the trends with it in the GFS as well, it needs to be monitored. Now, the European model ensembles, notice the southerly flow returning within a week or two. First of all, for now we dry out behind this nor'easter in the east coast. The only area remaining wet for now is going to be in the Pacific Northwest. But notice here what's going to really begin to happen as we make our way towards that mid-month time frame. We're going to see areas in the central U.S. and the eastern U.S. begin to light back up with some precipitation, especially there in the southeast, which is exactly what I would expect with an El Nino in December. So definitely not surprising. Also notice towards the west coast looking at least like you'll get a break from the precip and begin to dry out with time there by the mid-month point. And this is the European model ensembles, as I mentioned earlier. So now it's time to unveil some of the outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook as I'm filming this. For your December 7th through your December 11th. Again, notice that bullseye for warmer than average air. Nobody, except for in parts of Florida, cooler than average according to this. In fact, well above average for about 25 to 50% of the country, and above average for about 75% of it at least. You can see areas from the plains to the Midwest, just really in those red shades of color there. And this heat will continue to make its way on off towards the east. I call it heat. It's warmer than average for this time of the year, and eventually a system will have to push that east. And then your Climate Prediction Center precipitation outlook for that time, again, notice a little bit drier than average. That's kind of behind those systems along the east. Also drier than average in your Los Angeles, Las Vegas, as well as Phoenix, Arizona. But what we're going to begin to see is that return southerly flow here over the plains, combining low pressure systems coming out of the Pacific Northwest or along that west coast region. Once we can get one of those to form a surface low over the plains, that's when we could see severe weather and snowfall really originate in the middle part of the month over the central tier, and then eventually move east. Now the Climate Prediction Center December temperature outlook, the level 3 shade of red is going to be over the central tier, with the entire country in some shade of orange pretty much, excluding parts of Maine as well as the southwest. And then the Climate Prediction Center December precipitation outlook, indicating something you would expect with El Nino, those greens in the Pacific Northwest and in the southeast. But also notice that little area there of the southerly flow of moisture there into the Arklatex. That would be that zone where we would watch for storm systems to really originate and create some severe weather. So my December forecast zones: wet in the Pacific Northwest, very warm and dry over parts of the north central, as warmer than average air is really going to dominate most of the country, but especially the central half. Drier than average here into parts of the Four Corners region, but primarily southeastern Arizona, parts of New Mexico, as well as southwest Texas. That's my zone for that. And then keeping it active here as you head from the Mississippi River Valley and surrounding areas, especially eastward from there. So overall, pretty much looking like what you would expect with an El Nino, but of course there will be some curveballs to expect, and that's why you need to, stick with me for the latest forecast updates as they come on individual systems, of course. But anyway, that's the conclusion of this video. If you enjoyed the content, please go ahead and think about liking, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you so much for watching this video. Here are the credits on the sites I use. Have a great day, everyone.
One nation weather.